Hi, good evening. Welcome to On the Line. And I'm your host, Britton and Carter. And tonight, as always, I'm about to bring you another fabulous show. Because tonight, I got a guest that you're going to find most interesting. Actually, I dubbed him the Spike Lee of Cincinnati, Ohio. But before we get to that, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you how to contact us or how to follow us, right? So you can hook up with me on Facebook at On the Line TV Show and also on Twitter at On the Line TV Show. And you can interact with us at #WatchOnTheLine. Now tonight, I've already told you that we have a very special guest, and I call this guy the Spike Lee of Cincinnati. Here on the line, we like to bring to you new and fresh and upcoming talent. Well, this guy is neither of that. He's neither new, but he is fresh. The brother is fresh. He's been in this industry for a while. He's been making some headway here in the city. He's a writer. He's a director. He's a producer. Tonight we have with us the man behind the new hit movie that's about to be released called Grandpa. I'm quite sure if you follow Facebook, you've been seeing excerpts of this movie here and there, and you've been hearing about it. It's bringing a lot of attention to the city, particularly some of our local locations that he used. Also, he's written a couple of books, but I'm gonna let him tell you about all of that, okay? But with no further ado, let me bring to you my main man, Mr. Robert Jones. What's up,
Thanks,
guy?
man. It's a pleasure, man, to be here. We go way back.
Way
man.
back.
The books that I wrote, The Pimp's Rap, I came close to getting a movie deal. Paramount Pictures was calling my house, and they sent me a letter. They was very much interested in the book. A lot of people, if you open-minded, you'll pick the book up. If you're not open-minded, you'll figure it's just another urban movie or urban book, but it's nothing like that. It's got street stuff in it because I myself come up that way. My father was a hustler.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I come up that way. But it's a lot more to it than just that. The Pimp's Rap educates men that there's a difference between good women and bad women. That's what the Pimp's Rap is.
And Robert, I like the way you came out swinging. You came out swinging and you got right to the meat and potatoes of this thing. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do when we are addressing our communities. Just get right to it.
Right.
But one of the things that we need to know is we need to know, how do we connect the earlier Robert Jones to this Robert Jones? Who were you before you got to this station in life?
Well, I've always wanted to be a writer ever since I was a kid. I've always wanted to be a writer, but I never was encouraged to write. I was always encouraged, you better get you some money. So the entrepreneur spirit has always been there in me. I never could work for nobody. I always wanted to work for myself. I opened up the barbecue hut downtown on Lynn Street.
Okay.
Everybody knows about it.
right.
And I had the barbecue hut for about 10 years.
Okay.
And I did real good down there.
I bet you brought some great material up out of that experience too.
Yeah. My mother did all the cooking and everything.
Right.
People still talk about the barbecue hut. And I had a big gas explosion down there. It was all in the news and everything. I was fortunate enough not to be in there. If I had been in there, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, we're glad you're here, bro.
Yeah. And so after that experience, my wife, she told me, she said, why don't you do what you always talking about you want to do? Why don't you write? So the first book I wrote was actually a children's book. And the Muslims, they bought the book and they teach it in their institutions and schools and everything.
Fantastic.
It made Channel 9 news. And
Fantastic.
but a lot of people didn't know that I wrote it because on the children's book, it's called The Odd Cookie by the Shadow. And at that time, I was caught up in a lot of negative behavior and was caught up in street life. So I didn't want to put my name on this children's book.
Right.
And right now it's a classic. A lot of people support that book because it deals with peer pressure. It educates children that they don't have to buy designer clothes and they don't have to buy luxury cars to be somebody. It builds self-esteem and confidence. And I think that's what we need in our children.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that self-esteem piece.
Oh,
because
yeah.
coming up the way that we did, through the trenches, so to speak.
Right.
Taking nothing and making it into something, so
Right.
to speak. I know that you have this affinity about how our youth are in the community with their pants sagging,
Mm-hmm.
the way that our young sisters are running around the community, and they're not like the young women that we came up with, not like our mothers and our sisters. You know what I mean? It's some things going. There's something missing in the household. We know that to be the male role model as well. But can you talk a little bit about about the kids and how you view that?
Well, I don't pull no punches when I talk about.
Please don't. This is on the line. We don't pull punches.
When I talk about the youth, I address that issue in my movie, Grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Grandpa is the only movie in cinema history that has ever attacked that issue. Nobody else has the balls to deal with that issue.
So what issue exactly is that?
Well, in the movie, Grandpa, he's involved in a lot of negative behavior, but he loves his grandson. He's weak for his grandson, and he can't stand the young boys walking around with their pants hanging down. And a lot of people may look at it like,
right.
Like some people do. It's kind of comical and this and that, but it's not. It's a very serious issue because how you look reflects your character.
That's right.
You understand? And a lot of people look at it like, that don't mean nothing. You understand? But it means a lot. Mm-hmm. You understand? And that's what I believe that has kept us back. If you don't care how you look, you don't care how you act. If you don't care how you act, you don't care what you become.
Right. I used to hear my father say all the time, "Hey, boy, if you look good, you're gonna feel good."
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you feel good, you do good.
And I think what happened to this generation is that they have fell victim to this crap about come as you are.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's what has happened a lot to the church. Right. We support that. I don't support that.
Come as you are don't mean having your pants on.
That don't mean that ain't got nothing to seeing you behind. That ain't got nothing to do with it. And I say all the time, if you're a man, if you're a real man and you really care about your son or your grandson, you walk up to the plate and you're the man. You can't come in my house looking like that.
You're right. And one of the things that I've always admired about yourself and a few other of the guys in our circle, always put it on. Look at you now, man. You're dapper, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, always, it was an art form to dress. Even in our kind of like our play clothes, so to speak. We used to put it on, the chucks, the ballets, you know what I'm saying? And when I look back and I look at old photos back in the 20s, them brothers was putting it on, man. They was knotted up every day and knotted up for you youngsters, meaning putting on the tie. This brother do it all the time. He'd have his lid on, that's a hat, you know what I'm saying? And, we took pride in and dressing and having a positive presentation about who we are. That was part of who we were.
Well, I think this generation, like I say, they don't really think, but how you look affects the doors that's going to open up for you. You understand? A good friend of mine, he said, "Oh, my son, he's a good kid, but he walks around like that with his pants hanging down, And I said, well, if the police roll up on him and blow his brains out before he hits the concrete, remember, he was a good kid."
Ooh, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to kind of shift gears, or if you say, and allow that to be a segue, not only into, some of the negative things that's happening with our youth, but some of the things that can happen to them positively if they shift gears a little bit and start looking at different directions. As you know, most of our youth believe that if they're not on the court playing ball, on the football field, baseball, something of servitude, then they have nothing to really offer but the street. So right here is a perfect example. You know, that they have something else that they could do. You brought all those, and you have a gold mine of experiences, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you get an opportunity to bring all that to life on the screen and in books. What would you say? We got a group of youngsters here. What would you say to them?
I would say, believe in yourself and don't follow the crowd. I believe the most powerful person is the person that be yourself. Be true to you. I don't care if it's 10,000 guys out there walking around with their pants hanging down. Be you. Peer pressure is something that black folks don't talk about because they caught up in it.
Right.
You know, and you hear older people say, oh, you know, that's the style, that's the trend. So if everybody killing themselves, you gonna do it too? Right, the most powerful thing any individual can do is be yourself. Right. You know, and I also say something that I know a lot of people don't believe in is be happy. Right. You know, I like money, I like clothes, I like nice things, but be happy. I always say the most important thing in life is to enjoy life.
You're right, and that means to me that translates in do what you do. Be
That's
happy
right.
doing what you do. And speaking of that, you know, I was the first time I met you. Remember the first time I met you?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I had an opportunity to meet this brother. I was driving down the street, and this was this happenstance, and I ran into a good friend of mine who I knew when he was a little younger, and we were embracing this industry, Britton Pearl. And he was doing a movie, and it was Dark Divas. Mm-hmm. And this brother happened to be one of the co-stars in the movie Dark Divas. And I got an opportunity to do a cameo appearance in that movie with this brother. Mm-hmm. And it's strange how that worked out because we're constantly, you know, running into each other in this industry, bumping heads, putting our minds together, calling each other, you know, and kind of speak about the circle in this city because, you know, it's kind of hard to break through in this industry here in this city.
You know,
do you find it difficult?
You know, I look at it just like life. You got negative and you got positive people.
Right.
And I advise anybody, hang around positive people. Because myself, doing the movie, being a black independent filmmaker is rough.
It's rough.
It's rough. I mean, because people don't really take you seriously.
That's right.
A lot of women, when I was just, because you don't have resources to actors. So you got to be a hustler.
That's right.
You got to get out there and grind. You got to be, you know, 24/7. You trying to get people in your movie.
That's right.
And the funny thing about it is, I laugh about it now. It's like if I was talking to a young lady and I tell her I was making a movie. Is it a porno movie? Yeah. I know you're making a movie, all right. It's always we go back to that because you black. They don't take you seriously. And I noticed that when I kept hanging with the movie, they kept seeing me doing something. After a while, things changed. The same woman that said, oh, you ain't about nothing, she said, can I be in your movie? Right. Because she saw I wouldn't stop. Right. You know, and I have to throw some shots out to Mark Yates.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Yates
my
is
man.
an unsung hero here in Cincinnati. Unlike any other bar in Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's right.
Mark Yates promotes black talent.
That's right. Him and Nick.
Both of them. But I have to throw some shots out because when you're doing an independent film, everybody's not going to support you.
Yeah, and it's great that you mentioned these people over at the Greenwich because I mean, that's kind of like our hub. You know,
that's my home.
You know, as a matter of fact, you called me doing the play there, The Miracle. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, it's where we go. It's a peace of mind. It's support. Mm-hmm. You know, and the people that come there, it's kind of like the Black Cheers. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody knows your name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So, you know, I really enjoy and embrace that. And we all get a chance, opportunity to rub elbows over there and put some ideas together. You know, one of the things, and before, you know, we run out of time, but one of the things I want to do is really delve into some of the things that you have coming up, not only Grandpa, you know, I want you to talk about when is it possible that we're going to see it, what's coming after that, you know, shout out to my producer who you trying to steal.
Oh, we gonna fight over it. We ain't gonna shoot one another like the young boys. We gonna fight, and the best man win.
You know, and while we are shouting out to people, you know what I'm saying, both you and I both are friends with Lee Zellers and Gwen Gordon and those people, you know, peace. Love you, man. You know, so yeah, you know, talk about some of your events and do you incorporate youth in your movies and whatnot?
Oh yeah, because in fact, there's a line that's so ingrained in my soul that I actually say it in the movie. I love my black youth.
Right.
Okay. The ones that embrace their black history and culture. The ones that's working 2 or 3 jobs trying to make it. Don't get me wrong. I love my black youth. But them fools that's out here robbing and killing innocent people, I have no compassion for them.
Right, I understand.
I have no compassion for them.
I understand that.
Because to me, that's the reason why they are the way they are, because we give them excuses. You understand? And they always talk about, well, you know, they got a little poverty, you know, they broke, and we was born poor.
This ain't nothing new, huh?
This ain't nothing new. So stop giving them excuses. Now, getting back to what you're saying on the positive side, I love my black youth. My black youth. The ones that want something out of life. You know, them the ones I talk to. And I'll tell you something I did, it was about 3 weeks ago. You know, when you talk about the pants hanging down, I go in Penn Station in Hyde Park. And the guy was making my sandwich and his pants was hanging down. The place was packed.
Right.
And I can't tell you the language I was using because it may not be appropriate up here. But I was raging. And so I told the manager, I said, he can't touch my sandwich. The place was packed in there. So they was looking at me like, where this guy come from, the Mars or somewhere? And I said, he said, well, what's wrong? I said, his pants is hanging down. He can't touch my sandwich. Now, either you fire him or I walk out of here. So he told him to go home. I thought he had fired him. I go back up there about 2 or 3 weeks later. He working up there, but his pants was up.
Okay.
And you know what he did? He shook my hand.
Okay.
That's how you help them. You don't help them by putting a pacifier in their mouth and giving them excuses. You help them by being a man. That's how you help them.
Being accountable.
That's right.
And that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
But getting back to the young black youth that read and embrace their history and culture, I love them. They make me proud to be black.
Right. And I'm unapologetically black, you know. And we just had a segment a couple of weeks ago. And I think that my audience knows now that I got a tinge of revolutionary in me. But yeah, I'm unapologetic.
Well, you come from an era, I think, you know, I tell you what makes me mad. Now, I know I'm going to make a lot of people mad with this. But do you think I care? When they say, every generation has got their thing. Y'all did y'all thing too. I feel like you had the audacity to compare these idiots with my generation. You don't even know what it feels like to come up with Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King and Starkey Carmichael and the Black Panthers. You have no idea what it was like to look up to Muhammad Ali. What, you got, a rapper?
Right. Or
so don't never compare your generation with my generation.
Right.
My generation was the greatest generation to be black in America.
Absolutely, I agree, because I came up in it as well, and some of my earlier influences were those people. But I tell you, you know, we cannot do this segment without mentioning them sisters as well. Afeni Shakur, Angela Davis, Nikki Giovanni, who I'm trying to get my producer, who we're trying to get on this show.
That's my producer.
You know,
that's my producer.
See,
that's my producer.
There you go. So we're gonna get our producer to hook it up and get Miss Nikki Giovanni, our homegirl, right here on this set. And hopefully you and Lee may be available, and we'll make this thing, man. We'll make it pop. We'll do a segment like that and make it pop. Me,
Sound
you,
good, man.
Lee Zellers, and Nikki Giovanni.
I need to talk about Lee too, because Lee is somebody that I can work with. You
He
know,
is.
and I can't work with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I'll let you know that right off the rip. If you ain't on time and you don't know your lines
Right.
and you got excuses, bye.
Right.
Because I got a movie to make.
That's right.
You know, I don't want to hear nothing else.
That's right.
You know.
Do you find? Let me ask you this, because I mean, and this is just shop talk. You know, when you have a production, I mean, does it? And I know it annoys me when I have an actor or an actress, and I give them, they got the script and they had the script for 2 days, and all of a sudden they say, "Hey, this ought to be," you know what I'm saying? Wait a minute, hold on. Recite me that line. Well, I didn't memorize it. Oh, but you want to change it.
Oh, your producer
Yeah.
and my producer, they was there one day
Yeah.
when we were shooting the scene. I'm not gonna call the lady's name, but she didn't know none of her lines.
Right.
And Lee, he don't say too much, but I could tell he was hot. I could just look at him and tell. And we got the place packed with extras, and I think you had came in there that day,
Well, I did.
and I didn't get a chance to talk to you because
Right.
everything was going on at the set. And so Lee said, "Robert, you just gonna have to roll with this, man."
Well, I was there. You called
Yeah.
me, and I was there as an extra.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? I was
right. You
there
were there
as an extra. Now,
And-
I'm going to let my audience know I got a bone to pick with it. I love you, but I got a bone to pick with it,
the
right?
minister.
Because here I am, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can go. I can go now. And, I come in and audition, and, you know what I'm saying? I see the script for about 30 seconds, and I go with it. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay. But
It's
at least,
okay,
at least I got to be an extra in
All
my
right.
man's flick. I love him to death, though. But in this industry, it's not even about always being at the forefront of a particular production. Just being it and then being a support. And I think that's what I was getting at in this city. Sometimes we have to be a support to one another.
You know what? When you mention support, when you mention that word, black folks don't understand what that word means. They think support means something that they like.
Down at the welfare.
Yeah, that's what they mean. That's what they think support means. And I hate to say it, but the average young person, what I did, and I don't mind throwing this out, helping anybody that want to do an independent film. I paid all my actors.
Right.
I paid them swell. I didn't know I was paying them union scale because I hooked up with SAG. And they told me, you paying them net, well, you paying
That's right.
union scale. But I couldn't afford to pay extras.
Yeah.
So I said, well, could you come in and do this? You're just sitting at the bar like you're having a drink. Well, you got to pay me.
Right.
I ain't coming in there sitting down and you ain't going to give me. Well, can you act?
Right, and for our audience, I know they don't know what SAG is.
Yeah.
The SAG is a Screen Actors Guild. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So
Right.
when you're hooked up, I'm hooked up. So when you're hooked
Right.
up with the Screen Actors Guild, it's
That's what
mandatory that
Denzel Washington is.
Hey,
A SAG
exactly,
actor.
exactly.
You
So
know.
I mean, and you never know where these films are going to take you, where a particular project is going to go. I know I'm going to see you in Miami.
Oh, man, I
You know,
got to be there.
As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I've got a couple of things coming up. We're gonna collaborate.
Oh,
I've already talked to Lee about them.
Yeah, Black
Wanna-
Film Festival, I
Yeah.
got to be there.
I got to be there.
You
as
know,
well, my
you
brother.
like I said, you got to hustle with this.
Yeah, ain't no
This-
question.
I tell you something. I've owned businesses. I've wrote books. I've done a lot of things, but making a movie, people don't have the slightest clue. Come on,
Man,
they don't
yeah.
have the slightest
Listen.
clue. This was the hardest thing I ever
Listen.
done in my life.
This here is this, and I'm gonna tell you, this industry has been a mistress like no other mistress. I'm telling you, if you got a relationship, if you got a marriage, your woman got to be strong.
Now wait a minute. You got to be strong.
Exactly.
Too. If you're
That's
a
right.
black man and you doing, just look, what's his name?
That's right.
Weinstein, all these people. You got to be
You
strong,
got to be strong
too.
And the couch,
You know,
and the casting
'cause
couch
that's
is
a
real.
setup.
And the casting couch is real.
That's
and it
real.
goes on both sides.
it goes on both sides.
Yeah. So you got the females, you got men. It's out there. It happens.
gotta be strong.
But what you have to have your own moral compass. It's got to be intact.
Yeah, you got to be you.
Yeah.
You
it's
gotta
gotta
be you.
So when's the party?
Well,
gonna kick off
the
again?
Christmas party, I'm glad you mentioned that, it's going to kick off December the 20th. all my life, whether I was in the street, whether I was had my own business or what, I have always believed in giving back. I've always. And so the Christmas party is going to be for the actors, the extras, and people behind the scenes that help me. Plus, it's going to be open to the public. I'm going to be giving away my books. So if anybody want a copy of my book, The Pimps Rap, Church Pimps, all they have to do is come there December the 20th at the Greenwich. And I will be giving away free copies of my book. We're going to have karaoke. We're going to have a lot of people that's going to be singing and stuff. I'm going to be giving away free movie posters. It's going to be live.
Yeah. Now, when you brothers come up there and get these books, these pimp books, don't go home thinking... Don't go home thinking that it's your manuscript to practice with, you know what I'm saying? Because actually what he's saying is, and I already know, you know, when we write books of this magnitude, we're not embellishing the, you know, the negative part of it. What we're saying to you is that you don't have to go here. You know, did it exist? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Did it exist? Yes.
It was a reality,
and
man.
As a matter of fact, anything that's been a negative, you know, I found in this industry, you could turn that baby around and make it a positive and make it work for you.
Oh yeah, well, like I say, the Pimps Rap educates men. And that's something that a lot of people are going to be like, what is he talking about? That there's a difference between good women and bad women. Because the young boys don't know.
Hey, real quick. We're running out of time, but before we do, I'd be remiss if I don't welcome to the crew one of our new technical support members, you know, Mr. Jason Reed. My man is here tonight. He's over in the booth there with Brandon. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to be a part of this team, and hopefully we can keep our quality going. It's been real, man. It's been real, bro.
No other way.
Listen,
No other
I'm
way.
your host, B. New One Carter. That's Britton, New One Carter. And this is On the Line. Come back and see me. Peace.